Very exciting video today. I think a long overdue video. This one has been requested a lot. I've been wanting to do it a lot. And here we are. We're finally doing it. We have a Lancaster Archery unboxing where Lancaster Archery sends me random products and I give my unbiased review and test them out. Here we go. I was impatient. I had to open the box. I had to see what exactly they sent me. But this video is going to be all about broadheads. All sorts of different broadheads. We're going to be doing some testing, some of my opinions on a few of them. I've used quite a few of these already before, but we have the Kill Zone, NAP Kill Zone, definitely a fan favorite. Then we have the Whitetail Special Grim Reaper's Big Hoss. You can see we're kind of trending towards one broadhead right now. We have a Schwacker 201. Then we have the G5 Dead Meat, which you guys know I already really love. And we have a Rage Tri-Pan. We have these 5 different broadheads, and we did this very specifically. We picked these broadheads because we feel like these are 5 very industry-leading, big expandable broadheads. I'm a big expandable guy. If I'm shooting like whitetails or anything, I'm shooting expandables. I've shot them for a long time. I have shot deer with all of these broadheads. Most one I've used is the Dead Meat. Really love the Dead Meat, so if anything, I'm going to be leaning towards the Dead Meat throughout this entire video just because I've kind of already have done a little bit of stuff. But I am very excited to run through a couple tests today, some actual tests, not just shooting at a cinder block like we did with the Amazon ones. You guys were very mad about that and didn't get that that was kind of a joke. So we're not going to just shoot these out of cinder block. But first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to open these up, go through a little quality check, and just kind of get our first initial impressions if we were to buy these for the very first time and just look at them. So first off, Schwacker packaging, kind of cool, you know, like a little shuttle tee thing that they got going on. It's like, oh cool, it's the shape of the broadhead when it's expanded. They use a little like O-ring rubber band thing, which, you know, I'm not really a fan of because it's just something that could fail, dry rot, or, you know, you could get a little burr on this and it could break on you. But I mean, if you always just make sure that they're good, you know, before you go hunting, it's not a big deal. But we're gonna slip this guy off, maybe that rubber band stretched out, and how this deploys is it's like a swing blade. So as it enters, you know, the target or an animal or whatever, it opens like this. So essentially the process behind it is it opens inside the cavity. It opens after it already penetrates into the skin. So, you know, in the past I've used these before. Historically, you don't get a ginormous entry hole, which has kind of always turned me off on these because I really like a big entry and exit, especially entry, because you never know if you're gonna hit the offside shoulder or whatever. So you get a little tiny entrance hole cut by these just 2 little bleeder blades. So essentially you get that, which is like a fixed blade, little 2-blade fixed blade entry hole, and then it opens up inside. You know, obviously a bigger cut for inside, and then, you know, once you're inside, it does the damage and exits. Nice little blunt tip, just nothing really going on there. It's not meant to cut, it's just meant to puncture. So what's really nice about this one is for hard quartering shots or any sort of weird shot, you have that big ferrule to puncture in first, and really stick and grab. It's not gonna skip. I know some other big expandables, if you have a hard quartering shot and you hit a rib just perfectly and it expands, sometimes it'll ride on the edge and can do some weird stuff. Overall quality of these, I don't know where they're made. I think they're USA made. It's not said on the packaging, so don't quote me on that. But I mean, I've always been impressed with Schwacker's quality. I guess we'll do a final sharpness test once we open them all up, but just rubbing it on my finger, I mean, it seems pretty dang sharp. So there we go, the Schwacker 201, 1.75 cutting diameter. Oh, I forgot about this. Isn't it also... Oh, no, that's the Levi Morgan edition with the practice thing. Levi Morgan's has a cool little practice set screw thing, but they do send you a little practice head, which is sweet. I will also say, when this is closed like this, it probably is the closest expandable broadhead to field tip accuracy, just because of how small that there's no blades. It's all internal in the ferrule like that. So that's definitely a plus. On to the next. We have the NAP Kill Zone compound bow mechanical broadhead. We have our first rear deploying broadhead. I'm a big fan of rear deploying broadheads because they just open. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like rear deploying ones, they just want to open. They're just designed to open. So over the years, I've used Kill Zones, and it seems like the overall quality has dipped just a little bit. I think they've changed up some manufacturing. I think they've now have gone overseas with a lot of their manufacturing. You know what comes with that. But this is our first rear deploying broadhead of the day. And you can see, opened up, we have a 2-inch cutting diameter. So a big hoss. I mean, this will do a lot of damage. We have a really big ferrule right here. And then the tip, it's not sharp. Like, this is not sharp at all. Which, honestly, you could maybe sharpen that to get it sharp. But it's just really meant just for puncturing and getting in. So to set these blades, I think it's just friction. Yeah, so they just kind of snap into place, friction fit, all closed up. So pretty tight. And then to trigger this off or whatever, of course, you know, it's going to slip once it enters. It's going to slip, hit these bad boys, maybe. Honestly, that feels pretty tight in there. Okay, there we go. And then just to kind of show how this works, you know, it's going to deploy, then it's going to swing, boom, and then hit the stop. So I like rear deploying ones because they just open. You know, it's just kind of like it pushes and then it just slides back. I'm always a little nervous about these, like the swinging motion. Granted, the Schwackers typically always deploy because they just have a good system, but swinging around like that, just a little bit different than a rear deploying. So that's the NAP Kill Zone. You can definitely tell like their quality. Like essentially, this is just a center bolt through here with a nut on the end of it. So it's a very simple construction right there. Decently sharp. I think the Schwacker's a little sharper, but just a very, very simple, big mechanical. Up next, this is also a fan favorite. I know a lot of guys that shoot these and just Grim Reapers in general, but we have the Pro Series 2-inch cut whitetail special 3-blade giant broadhead. Giant broadhead. I shot one doe with this when I was down in Atlanta. Put a big hole in it, but I'll tell you kind of my pros and cons and my opinions on it. Packaging, very simple. It's kind of this flimsy paper material, so probably the simplest packaging so far. But once you rip this out, you get this cool little package that I've even seen guys like keep them in here and kind of reuse the packaging. And you get 4. That's what's also nice about this is you get 4 of them. I think it's the only broadhead that you can buy them with 4. You can tell that this is sharp. This is pointy, just pulling it out. I mean, you can see it just is like grabbing onto my finger very easily compared to this one. I mean, this is like, that's nothing. Like a pretty good amount of force. Giant 3-blade. This is also similar to a Schwacker where it's like that swing blade. So every blade swings open like this. And what's cool about Grim Reapers is it's all like, I think it's even magnets. Yeah, like they like clip in and they're just kind of like pressure fit. I feel like there's magnets. That might just be me thinking that.
I took one apart once. There's like a little like metal O-ring and a spring.
It's like pressure.
Yeah.
Spring and pressure. Well, I mean, that's cool. It feels like a magnet, but I guess it's spring. But you have this awesome tip here, ferrule, that leads into the ferrule. Just really pointy, really sharp. Even each of these little blades are very sharp. I mean, you could cut a piece of paper with that. And once it's opened up, I mean, that's a big hole, which honestly makes me a little nervous. It's almost got too much of blades. And I feel like when shooting this, that's a lot out in front of your arrow. Yes, you're going to get a big hole, but I've always been a little nervous about that much being out in front of your arrow. I mean, let's screw one in. That's a lot out in the front, but we'll shoot it a little bit later, kind of see if we get anything weird out of it. But construction-wise, I know Grim Reaper, I believe they're USA made. They for sure sharpen in-house, and they're definitely one of the sharper broadheads on the market. Good things to say about that. On to the next. Let's do Rage next. The infamous Rage in the Cage. This is like the TV marketing special. You know, when you think of like TV back in the day, Lakoski's and everything, it's like Rage in the Cage. Everyone was Rage in the Cage. They have evolved a little bit since those days. They have like the big no collar stuff now, I believe. This is the no collar one? Yeah, no collar. So let's open this bad boy up. Similar to NAP with the Kill Zone, they have had manufacturing kind of shift all around. The company switch hands, I believe, at least once, and that just kind of switches stuff up. But here we are. I believe this is the no collar. Let me check. Yeah, so they just clip in like that. So that's really nice. There's no collar system. This little plastic piece, I guess, is just for fit. So that fits against the arrow nice. But another rear deploying broadhead. They are actually, I think Rage is the first one to ever do it. I think they have like an actual patent on it. But when you go to shoot and you hit the skin, again, it just pushes down on these two little fronts, pops open. That opens very nice, better than the Kill Zone. And then it just slides open. And there you go. You got a big 2-inch. Yeah, they say 2+ inch cutting diameter. So definitely a fan favorite, the Rage. I mean, I've shot multiple Rages, and I mean they do the job. They do really good. Very pointy ferrule. No cutting on the tip. It's literally just a point, which is fine because once it's in, you got these ginormous blades to do the work. Sharpness, not bad. It's not like, oh my goodness, but it's not bad. And overall, like a very simple broadhead. Probably the simplest, or one of the simplest. Schwacker's pretty simple too, but very simple broadhead. There's pop right down. A decent profile. These blades do stick out kind of far. You do need to pay attention when shooting these. You got to make sure your bow is tuned. Even compared to this, like the diameter, I guess, is bigger than a Grim Reaper or even maybe a Kill Zone for sure, a Schwacker. I mean, you can see the comparison there. You have your two little bleeder blade or your starter blades stick out kind of far, but they're small. You know, you got a lot of material sticking out here, so you do have to pay attention when tuning your bow. They pop out, they stay out. I mean, a Rage does the job. Okay, last but not least is the G5 Dead Meat, arguably the most used broadhead I've used out of this group in this lineup. A 3-blade 1.5. So one of these smaller, it probably is the smallest because these are all, 2-inch? Every single one of these is 2-inch. I guess the Schwacker's 1.75. So we have 1.5. A little bit smaller, but it is a 3-blade. I really love 3 blades because it really opens them up. It's like punching a hole through it compared to like slicing. So let's open this up. I'll also say these are all 100 grain. I pretty much only use 100 grain for expandables just because there's no real reason to do anything else. Packaging, standard, pretty standard packaging. What is nice is G5 has designed what they call a BMP. It's essentially a practice field tip that flies like your broadhead. It's the same sort of like aerodynamics that your broadhead will throw, and it's really nice. You can buy a bunch of these, throw them on your arrows. and shoot them all the time just to kind of stay dialed with your broadheads and not like waste broadhead shooting them. So that's a good nice little touch. So they send you with a couple extra collars, which is nice. And this does run off of a collar system. This is kind of the only one of the group that runs off a collar. So it definitely has its pros and cons, a little bit more variables. But honestly, I've never had any sort of problem with this collar system. So the profile, pretty slim. It's just like a little tiny bullet. I like to think of like it's super tight. The initial ferrule of the point, very sharp, and actually every single one of the blades on the tip is also very sharp, like can cut a piece of paper. What's nice is they're offset with the blades, so you have that little ferrule cutting portion on the tip on the non-cutting part of the blade. So you have blade and like a little bleeder blade off the ferrule, so you just get a lot of cut right there. It's a rear deploying broadhead, which I really love rear deploying broadheads. And same thing, it pushes against all of these and it just opens up. They just want to open. You can see the blade is clipped into the collar right there. It's just literally friction fit right there. So when we open this up, you can see that there's this little cutout in the blade and that just clips right in the collar. So opens up super easily. The blade just right down. That is it, fully open. So deadly little deal right here. You can see kind of the profile of that. I mean, you're punching a bullet hole through them. Good solid little head, not super long, which is nice. I like this one, but this is very, very sharp too. Like honestly, probably the sharpest out of the bunch. G5, they sharpen a ton of things in-house. USA made. Good company, good broadhead. So here we go. This is our lineup. Probably the most popular. You know, I'm of course gonna get in the comments, oh, why didn't you do this one? Why didn't you do that one? Well, we could do a dozen broadheads, but that would take a lot of time. So this is them all opened up. We'll get this Grim Reaper opened up. Gosh, look at that big hoss. The Grim Reaper's definitely like the biggest profile. That is them all opened up. Definitely the smallest one's the dead meat. Second smallest is the Schwacker, and then these are all kind of in the same caliber, with the Grimmy being just ginormous. So we have a Schwacker broadhead. Kind of cuts. Kinda. It kind of gets hung up. You can see there's like little flariness. So it's sharp. It'll cut. So we have the NAP. About the same, honestly. You can see there's like all these little hairs. It's not splitting the hairs, and decent amount of pressure. I feel like this blade's a little thinner, which might help also. So about the same. Grim Reaper. This one I have a feeling is going to be sharp. Yeah. That's very sharp. You can just zip right through this. So very sharp on Grim Reaper. Rage. Honestly, pretty dang sharp. Wow. I was not expecting that. Yeah, that feels very sharp. Yeah, definitely just off of my finger touch, sharper than the Kill Zone, and then Schwacker. I feel like the Schwacker had a weird grip on it. I'm gonna try this again. Yeah. It still gets hung up though. Not as sharp as the Grim, for sure. Okay, so now we have the dud meat. Problem is getting a good grip. Pretty dang sharp. I'd say it's pretty close to the Grim Reaper and the G5. I mean, that's just slipping right through there. I like that. So these two, definitely the sharpest heads out of the bunch. Whew. That's one thing about the collars, is you got to make sure you don't lose these. If you take them off, they don't really stay on there. But to clip them in, I will say this: to clip them in, you just kind of take your fingernail. They punch right in just like that. And then it's locked. And you can do that to every blade. So So what we're gonna do now is we are going to shoot these bad boys through some ballistic gel to do your stereotypical penetration test. So we're gonna go get that all set up and we'll be back right now. Okay, here we go. We have our 5 test subjects, our lucky participants. We have our ballistics gel right here. I have another one, but I think we can fit all 5 in here. I also have about an inch of cardboard here to kind of replicate like the skin, and like sometimes I've seen testing before. If you just shoot into this ballistic with some of these weird point broadheads, they don't open because it's just like soft, and you need a little bit of tension to let these blades open. This kind of like replicates the skin and, you know, penetrating the hair and everything. So we put 5 little dots on here. We're gonna shoot exactly at each one of these. I just went and sighted in at like 2 steps, so I'll be able to aim right on at these and shoot in there. And I'm kind of excited. I'm excited to see what the program is. So we're gonna get this kicked off. What should we shoot first, Riley?
Let's do it in order of how we unbox them.
Good call. What did we do first? Schwacker? Schwacker it is. And hopefully this doesn't fall. We had to get creative at the height. So we got these bins right here. Nervous. Perfect. Well, she opened, went through. Gosh, this is cool. I've always wanted to do this. It opened. I mean, it looks good. You can see a ton of cardboard in there. Blades open, but you can see this entrance hole. Little 2-blade cut. And that's those bleeder blades or those opener blades. Just takes a little bit, so that worked, man. Perfect. What did we do next?
NAP.
I'm gonna aim just slightly right of that dot. Perfect. Dang, look at that entry hole there. That's the entrance. It's way bigger than the Swacker. So you got that big entrance hole. And that opened up. Man, that's cool. It's good. I didn't even think about this, but I'm shooting with the blades horizontal or up and down so we can see the wound channel. Not as much penetration as a Schwacker though, which is okay. I'm very intrigued on what this guy's gonna do. I'm gonna do it in the middle just because it's the biggest one. Wow, okay. So honestly, look how much of a bullet hole that is right there. Didn't open right off the gate, but it looks like it did open, but it looks like it took a minute for it to open. It probably opened honestly right in the center of the cardboard or something. Wow, it did more penetration than the kill zone. So that's pretty wild. Very cool. This is awesome. I've always wanted to do this. Rage Tri-Pan. Broadhead number 4. Also very intrigued on how this is gonna do. Okay. Very comparable. And we got opening. It opened right there at the gate, so you're gonna have a decent entry hole. And I mean, it looks good. It looks like it opened. This blade, it honestly looks like that blade started to fold down a little bit. Pretty big channel. Looks good. It is tied with the Grim Reaper for penetration. But honestly, these are all the same. Like anything within an inch of that, I mean, they're all gonna be about the same. Now we have the dead meat. So final one of our penetration test. Very nice. Okay, so penetration wise, it is leading for number 1. This is it. So deepest penetration. It is the smallest cutting diameter, so that makes sense. But look at this. We got a ginormous entry hole right there. All 3 blades are open. Let's check out the wound channel. Gosh, that is crisp. Look at that. Just a clean line all the way across. I know I said I was going to be biased about this, but I've done enough testing now and killed so many things. I mean, honestly, it might have performed the best in this. So let's do number 1, which is our opening hole. It's very, very important you get a good opening hole, in my opinion. Like, if you don't get a pass through, at least you have your entry hole. So we are scientists now. We have some calipers. And what we're going to do is I just want to see the measurement of the opening blades. 26 millimeters on the Schwacker for the entry hole. You know, it's not bad, but it's definitely not as good as some of these other ones. So up next we have the kill zone, which is honestly pretty large entry hole. 39 millimeters, big entry hole, opened way up. Right at the get-go, you're gonna get a ginormous entry hole, which is always good. Next we shot the Grim Reaper, and honestly it's not even worth measuring. It didn't open at the surface here, but like I mentioned, I feel like it opened maybe at like the second layer of cardboard, because looking at the wound channel, it looks like it opened up right here. So you're not gonna have, in this instance, of course, shooting at an animal is like different. It potentially very well could open, but you're not gonna have as dramatic of a big entry hole. And that's those swing blades. You always don't get that. That's why I love the rear deploying, because rear deploying, you pretty much always get an opening, just like this NAP did. Okay, so next we shot Rage. So the Rage definitely opened 28 millimeters. So not as good as the NAP, and honestly not much better than the Schwacker. Just a little bit better, but still good entry hole. And then we have the dead meat, man. I don't even know how to measure this because it's a 3 blade, but we'll go blade tip to blade tip, I guess. 37. So the NAP kill zone won the largest entry hole sector of this penetration test. So definitely +1. Number 2 was the dead meat, and then number 3 was the Rage. I know there's going to be a bunch of things about the Grim Reaper not opening up, but I know this test isn't perfect, but it's a pretty good representation of what it would actually be like. Next is our overall penetration. So we'll go with the loser. The loser is, wouldn't you guess, the NAP kill zone. The largest entry hole is the NAP kill zone, and the least amount of penetration. So it kind of makes sense. It's like the bigger the broadhead and the more it opens up, the quicker, the faster it's going to slow down. So it's pros and cons. Broadheads are all about pros and cons. And then the winner is the dead meat. So by a decent amount, honestly, probably about an inch, which makes sense. It's only a 1.5 cut, but it is a 3 blade. So you got more blades, and you arguably probably have more surface area, more cutting area than like the Schwacker. There's more blades because there's 3. So, and then these middle 3, honestly, they are just about the same. The Rage and the Grim Reaper are within a couple millimeters, and then the Schwacker a little bit further. So really good test. And wound channel wise, I mean, if we can even consider that, I mean, the Schwacker performed really well. It looks like it opened up nicely. NAP opened up right away and all the way through, was super open. The Grim Reaper is probably the biggest wound channel. I mean, once those blades opened up, it just like ginormous wound channel. And then the Rage, come over on this side. I mean, the Rage did great, super open, and so did the dead meat. The one thing about the Rage though is that top blade looked like it didn't fully open, or had a little bit of a malfunction, because it doesn't look like it's as deep as that bottom blade was. But who knows? Might have just got a little sticky in the ferrule and didn't open up all the way. So our next test is going to be accuracy and just like overall long range performance. I haven't really seen anyone do this sort of test, but it's wild the differences when you get these broadheads out and actually shoot them, and a couple little things that I've noticed over the years shooting them. So we'll dive into that right now. So we are sighted in with our field tips. ignore, these were some just getting sighted in, these low ones. But the final couple that I shot were these. So we got perfectly sighted in field tips from 70 yards. So now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna shoot like just one broadhead, see where it lands, or just kind of feel how my shot was. If I feel like it should have went in the middle, we'll do it a couple times per broadhead, maybe 3 times per broadhead, kind of get like an average group, and then just kind of roll through it. And when I'm going over is like, what sort of drop do we get? Because as you go on farther distances, the more broadhead you have out, like just material there is, the more drag you're gonna have. So I've experienced before, like as you go further, different broadheads like drop more, so you almost have to have like a different sight tape just for your broadheads. So we're gonna do that now. And I forgot that I shot these arrows a while ago, and they're still in the target. So on top of just shooting the broadheads, I super glued the blades shut. So you still have the exact profile, the same, like how it would fly, and they just won't open. So I like to do that with broadheads, just to shoot them exactly how they are and not worry about like a practice head or anything, because it is nice just to shoot them like shoot the broadheads just how they are. Okay, here we go. We got Schwacker up first. We're literally gonna shoot it, go pull it, shoot it, go pull it, shoot it, go pull it. We're gonna do each one 3 times. Just kind of get like a general consensus of our groups. I do think people recommend to run these sideways like that, so we'll do that. We're running a 4-fletch, little 4-fletch, so we can twist it really anyway. It felt good. A little high right. Interesting. I also note that, you know, this bow is pretty tuned, but I haven't really done an extensive broadhead tune, so that's going to be interesting too, what broadheads are affected the most. I mean, when I shoot an arrow out of this and I watch it, it's a dead nuts perfect. And we got a little bit smaller veins, a heat vein, so it's very sensitive to broadheads. Shot number 2 with the Schwacker. Felt good. High right again. That's like within an inch probably of where my other one was. So Schwacker is definitely favoring high right. Shot number 3. And again, I'm interested to see where the other broadheads, if we're all favoring kind of on the right side, that just means that I need to bump my rest a little bit to the left because my field tips are centered if all my broadheads shoot a little bit right. So we'll kind of figure that out as we go in this testing. Ooh. That's gonna be a little low. Yeah, just a touch low of where we are. We're still on the right side, but I mean, I felt like I was gonna hit an inch or 2 low, and there we are. So the right side of the dot. It would have been a really good group, obviously, if we were in a hooter shooter or something. But definitely high and a little right is the overall group of the Schwacker. Okay, so this was hit number 1, was like right here. Hit number 2, hit number 3. I knew this one was low. It should have been right here with the other one. So I'm gonna consider, you know, we should have had a good little group right there, and every shot was aiming at that center. So not bad. I mean, accuracy-wise, it definitely passed the test. And I'm interested to see where the other ones land, because if we all kind of group up to the high right, then that's a tuning thing. But we'll see what the variance is in the next one. Up next, we got the kill zone. Very interested to see how this is going to fly. I'm going to run this again with the blades horizontal. Just going to always run blades horizontal. Haven't really done a lot of testing on that, but everyone says to run them horizontal, so we're going to do that. Okay, shot felt good, and it went in the bottom of the dot. Left and right was perfect, right in the bottom. So a little different than the Schwacker. Louder. Did you hear how loud that was? That's going to be our final test, so stay tuned for that. Is going to be noise. And also, quick shout out to Lancaster Archery Supply. If you need broadheads tomorrow or the next day, you can get any broadhead on the entire planet that you want from Lancaster Archery Supply. Okay, we got shot number 2 out of the kill zone. that one went very far right. That's wild. Getting some variance here. So I pushed this one through because I'm nervous about bending the blades or something, pulling them out. So I pushed it through, unscrewed it. And I don't know if we got a puff of wind that time or what, but that was some goofy flight. Maybe just gonna rotate that a little bit the other way. Try it again. Maybe that was a fluke, or maybe it's gonna do something different every single time. Dang, way right. I don't know, man. That's weird. Welcome to Broadheads, where they do weird things for sometimes no reason. So we're gonna go pull it. This was our final shot here. Our shot prior to that, I think, was here. And then we had one here. So boom, boom, boom. And honestly, this one could have been the fluke one. Maybe we got a little gust of wind or something. And our real group is like over here. Or we're definitely to the right. And we were right on the schwackers. We're extra right on these. So honestly, we could just be off on our broadhead tune. But definitely some weird stuff coming out of the NAP kill zone. On the flight, it's really loud. I feel like that was pretty inconsistent. So moving on. The Grim Reaper up next. See how this guy's go. Probably the most amount of like material up front, you know, not a whole lot in the threads. So could do something funky, I don't know. Ooh, way low. Dang, that's like a foot low, dude. That's wild. Bottom of the dot. I see my arrow down there like doing some weird stuff though. So still low, not as low. That's just it's a lot of material to to steer down there. All right, final shot out of the Grim Reaper. Jeez, way low left. Low again. Gosh, man, I'm not a fan of big broadheads out in the front of your arrow. The smaller the better. I mean, I think this proves it, but we'll go down there and look at it. I nearly missed, which is wild. So we had this last one. The arrow before this was right there. And then the one before this one was, I didn't able to bend that one right there. So, man, just low. Very consistently low. And if we can get this out. That's just a lot of head, a lot of air drag, and you know, as the arrow flexes, you got to think about it's doing this through the air. So I mean, that broadhead is, you know, wiggling and picking up drag, and you just don't want a lot in front. I mean, as a whitetail broadhead, it's called the whitetail special. 20 yards, 30 yards, 40. You know, should be fine. But as soon as you get out further, I feel like it just gets pretty wacky. Rage in the cage. This up next. I've done a decent amount of testing on these and interested to see if it's gonna line up. But we'll do this with blades horizontal also. Stay consistent with that. Arrow number 1 for Rage. Oh, buddy, that went high. Way high, like sky high. Just every broadhead, it's like just a mystery pack. What are you gonna get? Unreal. I will say, these heat vanes, I do not recommend them if you have a big broadhead. I recommend them if you have a little tiny sleek fixed blade or expandable. Really, I wouldn't even shoot them with a fixed blade. You need steerage, you need fletchings, you need steerage on this. But that's why we chose the heat vanes, because it's showing all these broadheads in their worst light possible as far as like flight. Rage number 2. I watched that one plane. Yeah, I went right. Dude, I watched that one go in the air. That was wild. You just need some fletchings to steer these broadheads if you're gonna shoot them. Okay, let's see where this lands this time. Maybe it'll go left. I'm not kidding you, it went left. Dude, that is the most inconsistent out of any of them, the Rage. We had high, right, high left, and all those shots like broke in the middle. It's semi-concerning, honestly. Way high left. So first shot was up here. Then the next shot was somewhere over here. And there, I mean, that's not even a pie plate. That's not even a basketball group. Unreal. I mean, if you think about it, that's a lot of material up there. I mean, this width of these blades, I mean, that's dang near a fixed blade. Okay, the dead meat. Final broadhead in this test. No idea what this is going to do either, based off of what we've experienced so far, which is a little bit of madness. Except for the Schwacker. The Schwacker was very consistent. It was probably like a sub 2-inch group. If all my shots broke and they went right in the middle. Okay, a little high right where the Schwacker was. If the Schwacker and this one hit the same in a good group, which is kind of what I'm expecting, I'm slightly off on my broadhead tune. I'll need to bump my rest a little bit to the left. Okay, high right again, right up in that little group. That's the trend. I think we're slightly off on our broadhead tune, but the broadheads that actually fly good when your setup isn't like 100%, just Schwackers and the dead meat so far, and then the big profile ones do all sorts of crazy stuff. So, last shot out of the dead meat. That honestly was a bad shot, but went in the dot, left side of the dot, and I knew that was kind of a bad shot. So overall, not too bad. Let's go check it out. Okay, so this is my last shot out of the dead meat. My first one was right there, and my second one was right there. And honestly, I'm like, those are good shots. I was impressed with that. And the Schwacker was right there. I feel like if it's a good, sleek, low broadhead, it's going to land right there. This is kind of a flyer, bad shot. But man, everything else, kind of all over the place. I mean, the Kill Zone, the Rage, Grim Reaper, and I think it's just because there's so much, it's almost like a fixed blade profile, which requires a lot of tuning, some big fletchings. But just kind of throwing my bow. I've been shooting all year and knowing that we're going to have very sensitive fletching to any faults, I guess. That's what we got. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to mix it up real quick before we do the sound test. Okay, so mixing it up just to show what a fletching will do. We have a 4 fletch, this is what I would run if I had a fixed blade. And we're going to shoot 2 with just a field tip first. We're going to just shoot these in one round just to kind of speed this up. So dime piece right in the middle of the dot. That's what we want. It is a little windy, but that's real world situations. As long as my shot's good, and I'll obviously say if it's not or doesn't break in the middle. A little bit of wind really affects broadheads because it'll get the arrow kind of kicked one way or another, and it's all about how the arrow then kicks back on course. Honestly, that's where a lot of the inconsistencies come from. Okay, that one was a touch low, so that's just my human error. My human error probably is just about with that dot size down there if it was perfect conditions. But we'll go right through these in normal order. We got the Schwacker right in the dot. I mean, that looked really good. Okay, now we got the NAP in the dot. Man, these fletchings are cleaning them up big time. Grim Reaper. Yeah, still very low. Just so much drag. So even with good big steering fletchings, just hits low. I got the Rage in the cage. Okay, touch low. It's right next to where my field tip was that went a little low, so could have been a little human error, but definitely shrunk it in there. Now we have the dead meat. Ooh, definitely hit an arrow on that. I think it hung low with the Rage right there. Definitely I'm a little right. Every single arrow, even my field tips are a little right. So let's go down there and we'll check them out. We have some variances here. We will pull out our field tip. That was our dead money field tip. And then one a little low. I think this is it. Maybe not. Yes. So one a little low, one in the middle. So we'll call our main group. We'll just split the difference. And we'll say our focus is right there. So the closest to that focus probably is between this one and this one. Our schwacker was this one. Again, when everything is right, pretty dang field tip accuracy. I mean, it's the lowest and slimmest profile, least amount of blades. And I mean, we were grouping right up here with our other veins and, you know, right there. So it just, a little more steering on the veins, just brought it in a little tighter. Next, I don't know what this one is. Okay, this is, oh, that opened up. Oh, this opened up because I grabbed a freshie. This was a brand new one, not super glued. So not bad. I mean, that's not bad at all. Just off, a little low, a little right. Could just be some more drag. But again, just a little bit of fletchings, more fletchings on the back. Tighten that right up. Okay, tied here, just a little bit lower. We have the dead meat. So again, just maybe a little bit of drag, a little low, but still, I mean, we're 2-3 inches off of our control mark, and off of our bad shot with the field tip, we're like an inch off. So right there. Then we have the Rage, just down low. One thing I've always noticed with the Rage is the farther you go, the more it drops, just because of drag. Because I think just the way it's designed, especially with the original no collars I did this on, and they're kind of wide. They whistle really bad and have a lot of drag. So they always drop a little bit. And way down here in the bottom, imagine that. Oh, that's interesting. We had a blade break. Wow, well, throw that in as a durability test too. Blade broken on that bad boy, and it's way low just because it's so much drag. I mean, it's kind of basic chemistry, just drags. So we are going to do sound right now. Okay, here we go. We got the GoPro here, get the main camera down there with the mic on. We have back on the heat vanes. We're gonna run through and shoot right over top of the camera and just pick up the sound. So these heat vanes are just dang near quiet. I guess what we should do is a field tip also. We'll do that as well as like a control. But we're gonna shoot this schwacker. Actually, we'll show you a field tip clip right now. And now this is the schwacker because I have it knocked into my bow. So quiet. I mean, that's very, very quiet. Hey, that went right in the middle of the dot too. Do you see that? That's wild. Maybe after my little sight adjustment to the right, it was better. Okay, next we got kill zone. An unsuper glued kill zone because I was worried about it. Okay, definitely louder. I could just hear that from back here. Okay, next we got a Grim Reaper. A new one, because the other one broke. Unsuper glued as well, so it's just in its raw form. Loud and low, I think. Next we got the Rage. Loud. It's definitely wild how noticeably different the Schwacker is so far. It's definitely quiet. This is the dead meat. Yeah, it's got a whistle to it for sure. But I think the worst probably back here was the kill zone. Schwacker was definitely quietest. Everything else is kind of in between, just kind of moderate. So in a field tips like nothing, these heat vanes are so quiet. So. Well, the madness of the Broadhead test has come to an end. The first 5 of actual Broadhead testing we have done. Let us know if you like these sort of videos. I definitely want to do more like this. Let me know if you like the test and if you didn't like the test. And I will say, human variances in this. This is not super scientific, but it has some real lifeness to it. The wind, actually shooting it with different fletchings, different arrows. There's all sorts of guys that'll slap broadheads on setups that aren't fully tuned, and sometimes it's good to have a forgiving broadhead when it's not like that. And there is no perfect broadhead. Every single broadhead has pros and cons to it. The perfect broadhead is a rifle, let's be honest. So if you're, say this broadhead's the end all be all, it really isn't. There's pros and cons to them all, and it's really just what fits best for you, your setups, what you're pursuing, your poundage, and your arrow configuration. But I always tend to land back on the dead meat, just because it's pretty simple, it's small, and it's I don't know, it just performs well overall. The Rage is also a fan favorite. Schwacker would be a fan favorite if it just had a bigger entry hole, but definitely some pros and cons on that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to check out LancasterArcherySupply.com for all of your archery needs, and especially your broadheads this fall. We'll catch you guys in the next one.